Live streamed.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm glad that we have 12 people on board tonight, and we'll start with a prayer. Can I ask Peter to start the session with prayer? Thank you.
Sure. Our gracious and loving Father in heaven, we come before you, Lord, seeking, Lord, in humility, seeking, Lord, a presence with you, Lord, to guide this meeting. We ask, Lord, for your Spirit to be poured out, particularly on John, to give him power, Lord, from on high, from your throne, as he presents this message of love from your throne, this message of intelligence, this message, Lord, in which we can gain a deeper insight into the way in which you work, Lord, in our life. We're so grateful, Lord, for giving us this opportunity to allow this important message to be conveyed around the world. We ask, Lord, that through humbleness of heart, that you will be glorified, and that as we listen, Lord, may we have our mind expanded, the borders of our thinking enlarged, and our minds enlightened, Lord. We thank you for your goodness to us and your wonderful mercy. And we just pray, Lord, that as John speaks, the words that will come will be from your mouth, Lord. And Lord, may we learn a little more of your magnificence, your excellency, and the majesty of who you are. We pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So welcome to our second health webinar, and good to see friends and our speaker from abroad and our past health guest in our health retreat. Ministry of Healing, page 126 says, education in health principles was never more needed than now. The only hope of better things is in the education of the people in right principles. So we endeavor to have this free webinar every week. Please share it with your friends or your circle of influence and your network. With the last presentation, the topic was on the why of plant-based diet. If you missed that, no worries, you can go to our YouTube channel, just search for Shalem Outpost, or just look at the chat box. I am pasting it now for the link. So for tonight's presentation, I'm really happy that John Everblest accommodated our request. He hails from Nebraska, USA. So it's very early morning for him now, and he has presented for us in the previous events before. I'll let you introduce yourself, John. Thank you.
I introduced myself. I wasn't expecting that. I'm John Everblest. I'm a displaced respiratory therapist because I refuse to take vaccines anymore. That was in 2012. Been poor ever since. But it was actually that event that actually caused me to start this ministry in a big way, to just declare the deceptions of pharmakeia and end time health presentations. So that event was a good thing for me in the long run. It just kind of woke me up. Okay. When we start this, I'm okay, Benji, if someone asks for clarification or a comment or a question. Yeah, we're gonna have questions afterwards, but I'm okay with that, but you'll have the vision. You'll be able to see all the viewers if they have a question. I won't be able to see it when I go to full screen, but just break in if someone wants to.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Anyone who has question while John is speaking, you can put it on the chat box, and then we'll answer it after.
Yeah, and then you'll let me know, because it's too bad because I don't get to see the faces or the expressions, or if you're reacting positively or negatively, I won't get to see it. So, all right, are you ready for me to go?
Yeah.
To start? Okay, let me share my screen. Interesting what we're doing. Where to go?
No, what's this doing?
Hold on. Screen. Aha, okay. You see that picture of Eden there? Someone just nod their head if you can see it. Okay, Peter's saying that. All right. And I also have a question. On my screen, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 6 people images there. Is that showing up on your main screen as well?
No.
Okay, so you just see the Eden. Okay. Well, maybe I could actually. Yeah, it's going to block my words. All right, I'm going to shrink my images here. And I'm probably going to shut off my camera because my face tends to get in the way. Hold on. Stop video. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Can you have your video, John, so we can also see your face while speaking, or if that's possible?
Are you saying you would prefer that?
Yeah, would be good to see you speaking. Does it block any text on your screen?
Probably, but I'm going to talk through it anyway. So, all right, here we go.
Thank you.
Eden, God's magnificent outdoor automatic healthcare system. When God placed Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he surrounded them with nature, side to side, top to bottom. And all of nature was designed to keep them healthy, automatically, without them even trying. And different parts of nature had different jobs in keeping Adam and Eve healthy, just like it still does for us now, just not as well. All right, this is a 3-part series, and part 1, hold on. There. Part 1 is called the healing soil. It's about the dirt. The whole presentation is about the dirt and the magnificent healing qualities in that. But before we talk about the soil, we need to first quickly outline those healing Eden principles. All right, the basic Eden health principles to prevent and reverse disease. And those principles and agencies are so simple, easy, restful, and serene. And I'm going to present these principles just as showcased in Scripture before the fall of man. Principle number 1, live, work, and sleep outdoors. Principle number 2, full body sunlight and air exposure to the skin. Now remember, God placed Adam and Eve in a garden, in the sunlight, all day, every day, naked, to absorb those automatic healing agencies of nature. Number 3, tend a garden. Eat a plant-based diet, fresh from the garden. Adam was told to care for the animals, not to eat them. Drink pure, cool water. Work when it's light. sleep when it's dark, live chemical free, live low stress, walk barefooted. Yes, that's a healing principle, which we're going to talk about in a bit. It's my favorite healing principle in this whole thing, walking barefoot. 11, rest on the Sabbath, talk and walk with God daily, marry someone nice, and don't consult with snakes. Yes, that is an actual healthcare principle that was demonstrated all the way back in Eden. Let the reader understand. Number 15, whatever prevents disease also reverses disease. Number 16, healthcare is automatic when we're in harmony with Eden principles. Now, God has given us many other detailed health principles, but these are the basics of Eden. I'm not going to talk about each one of these, no, just a few of the outdoor components, especially the dirt today. There's a fly here. All right, hold on. All right, working with the earth. Since this is about the Garden of Eden, we start with the garden and the very earth in which it grew. To Adam and Eve was committed the care of the garden, to dress it and to keep it. Genesis 2:15. Though rich in all that the owner of the universe could supply, they were not to be idle. Useful occupation was appointed them as a blessing to strengthen the body, to expand the mind, and to develop the character. In this presentation, we're going to try to unravel 4 little mysteries, which includes 2 remarkable healing stories of history, short, and 2 remarkable inspired quotes from history. All 4 are related to healing from the soil. All right, our first mystery story: what would happen if violent, uncontrollable prisoners were placed outside in a garden all day, every day, like Adam and Eve? Here's the video clip of that story. Sorry, I'm trying to kill a fly that is very tenacious. All right. All right, here's the video clip. Moving on to that. What happened? All right, this is a story. It says, I know by experience the value of an outdoor life to those who are sick. Years ago, when living in Battle Creek, it was thought that I was dying. My friends said to my husband, Brother White, your wife will not live long. Yes, he answered one day, she would not live long if she remained here, but she is going away with me today. Accompanied by my son, Willie, we started in a carriage for Greenville, 80 miles north. As I could not sit up during the journey, I knelt on 2 cushions placed on the bottom of the carriage, leaning my head on my husband's knees. After reaching Greenville, my husband took me out to a strawberry bed and allowed me to work in the soil. He arranged everything for my convenience and brought out an easy chair. I was to set out the strawberry plants, apparently from the easy chair. This exercise in the open air seemed to take the poison out of my system. For some time, I had coughed almost constantly, day and night. It seemed as if it were impossible to cease coughing. I could sleep but little, but after beginning to work in the soil, my cough left me. Although this outdoor exercise was the only medicine I took, I was rapidly restored to health. Well, the question is obviously, how? She could barely move. We could hardly call that exercise. So what all was in play with her rapid recovery? And now we add those 2 mysterious quotes by one of the world's most prolific. Hey, wait a minute here. Something happened. I skipped something somehow. Hold on. Yep. I missed the story. And there's sound. Hey, I tested this and it was working. Hold on. Apparently there's sound that is off and this should be playing. Oh. And I have no idea why it's not playing, because it's a really good story. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to tell this story because it was so good. You're not hearing this story, are you? Because I'm not. No. All right, I'm gonna go all the way down to the bottom of this presentation where I have the story written down, I hope. Here we go. All right, this is the same story, but written out. Warden Reagan of the Stateville Penitentiary in Illinois. This is supposed to be the first story. Sorry about that. Warden Reagan in the Stateville Penitentiary in Illinois was a great believer in horticultural therapy. He was a guest on my TV gardening program on several occasions to tell of the work done by inmates at the penitentiary. I also visited him on several occasions and was amazed by the beautiful gardens within the prison walls and also the very extensive prison farms. Warden Reagan stated on many occasions that it was only through horticultural therapy that he was able to rehabilitate some of the most extreme psychological cases, making them actually eligible for parole. He said that the other forms of manual therapy, including painting and sculpture done indoors, did not have the same beneficial effects. Maybe the results of horticultural therapy were purely psychological in getting the men closer to nature and working with flowers. And maybe getting them outdoors into the natural sunlight may have been a very important factor, especially when consideration is given to how poorly the average jail cell is lighted. Okay, now we go all the way back up. Okay, now it's going to try to play again. Pause that. The mystery that we're going to try to unravel is how would flower gardening make such a dramatic change in temperament? Was it just sunlight and fresh air? All right, we'll come back to that question. But let's present the other three mysteries first. Next mystery story was of that dying woman. She said she was dying, Ellen White, with a relentless, ceaseless cough. All right, we read that story. And now we add those two mysterious quotes by one of the world's most prolific health reformers and author, the same lady whose story we just read. Here's the first quote. Everything at Loma Linda is fresh, wholesome, and attractive. The patients could live out of doors a large part of the time. By outdoor exercise and working in the soil, men and women will regain their health. Drugs will be discarded. All right, now the last mysterious quote. Tell those who are sick that if the hosts of those who are dyspeptics and consumptives could turn farmers, they might overcome disease, dispense with drugs and doctors, and recover health. Again, how? We know that consumptives were cured by sunlight and fresh air during the war on TB, but dyspeptics? Dyspeptic is defined as of or having indigestion or consequent irritability or depression. Consumptive means, well, that's tuberculosis. So how would working as farmers in the dirt solve indigestion, irritability, depression, and tuberculosis? How did that woman recover so quickly from her cough when she started working in a garden in the dirt? How did working in a garden in the dirt change the temperament of hardened prisoners? We know sunlight, fresh air, and exercise are powerful healing agents. But is there more to it? Something more down to earth? The two stories and the two quotes seem to suggest that the dirt itself may have healing qualities. Is there evidence that our health and well-being are connected to the soil? Well, what's in the soil? Hold that thought. I've never seen a more tenacious fly ever. He is just on me all over this. Let me grab my fly swat. I'm going to kill this little guy on live camera. Wow, that was easy. Okay, sorry about that. Fly all gone. All right. What's in the soil? Well, vitamin B12 is in the soil. What does that do? Well, according to the Mayo Clinic, vitamin B12 plays an essential role in red blood cell formation, cell metabolism, nerve function, and the production of DNA. Food sources of vitamin B12 include poultry, meat, fish, and dairy products. But as we know, as you know, God's Eden Healthcare Plan, in God's Eden Healthcare Plan, poultry, meat, fish, and dairy products were not considered food sources. So where did God intend that we obtain our B12? We have all been told throughout the years by various medical experts that vegans must take man-made B12 supplements in order to survive or thrive. Well, the following slide contains a few key excerpts from a very complex MIT article on B12 and the earth. Just 4 quotes. It begins to give us clues that may address the question of where did God intend that we obtain our B12? Now, just 4 little quotes. Here we go. From MIT News, MIT biologists solve vitamin puzzle. Well, okay, that sounds interesting. Quote number 1, vitamin B12 is the only vitamin synthesized exclusively by microorganisms. So far, that doesn't mean anything. Number 2, B12 is produced by soil microbes that live in symbiotic relationships with plant roots. Okay, now it's beginning to make some sense. Number 3, B12, the most chemically complex of all vitamins, is essential for human health. Yes, we got that. Last one, this is a quote. Still to be explored is the question of why soil bacteria synthesize B12 at all, Walker said. For soil microorganisms don't require B12 to survive, and the plants they attach themselves to don't need it either. So this was left as a mystery to the author. Well, here's my question. Would it be far-fetched to believe that God placed vitamin B12 in the soil for us? Could it be that we are rewarded with health automatically when we work the soil? We don't even have to think about it. Now, the next slide is another puzzle piece with B12 on it. Maybe that will help fill in the picture a bit. I had an elderly medical professional tell me recently that she was at a lecture a long while back from a Dr. Harding of Loma Linda School of Public Health. A question was asked by one of the students there about getting enough vitamin B12. And Dr. Harding said, just walk through a barn and breathe the dust. You'll get all the B12 you need. In other words, God seems to have purposed that we get our vitamin B12 from working the soil, from breathing in its dust. So what about that whole microbiome thing? Does it do more than just produce vitamin B12? All right. The microbiome. Apparently the answer is yes. Let's just summarize this whole microbiome thing. God created an unfathomably complex system of living organisms in the soil by which our health and very lives depend. It's a micro ecosystem or microbiome. When God made man out of the dust of the earth, that dust and its living microbiome became part of us. We were made from soil that was teeming with life. There are more of these microbes in our bodies than we have cells in our bodies. And they all have a purpose in maintaining our health and psyche. That microbiome varies according to where it is located in our bodies. Our gut, our skin, our lungs, etc. Each has its own variation of that microbiome. Healthy soil is an antidepressant, as it turns out. This certain bacterium is found in soil. It lights up neurotransmitters that release serotonin, a mood-lifting hormone. And it's far more than just an antidepressant. It turns out that our gut microbiome is the seat of our immune systems. The healthier and more robust the diversity of our gut microbiome, the stronger is our immune system and our ability to resist all manner of disease, and the healthier we will be. However, the health and diversity of our gut microbiome is dependent upon the health and diversity of the soil where we live. If the microbiome in the soil is healthy and robust, those that actually manually work that soil and or live and work outdoors on that soil and eat the food that grows in that soil or drink the water filtered through that soil will develop healthy, robust microbiomes, making them magnificently resistant to disease. Alternatively, those that live and work indoors in these soilless concrete cities, eating exclusively of commercially grown foods farmed in poisoned, lifeless soil, will develop a weakened and diminished gut microbiome, making them much more susceptible to all manner of disease. It means that if we expect to survive what's coming for us in these end times, we need to get out of the cities, into the rich soil of the unpoisoned country, grow our own organic food, live close to the earth, work in the sunlight, and sleep in the fresh air, the magnificent outdoor automatic healthcare system of Eden. We must stop killing our soil microbiome by the use of pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and man-made fertilizers. We adopt permaculture. We feed the soil veganically, just like in the forests. We stop over-farming. We let the land rest every 7 years, as God commanded. And now we kind of know why. Apparently, that microbiome needs rest every 7 years. We must stop killing our gut microbiome by the use of pharmaceuticals, especially antibiotics, which kill off our microbiome even faster. We stop eating sugar and genetically modified organisms and junk foods that have been sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. In other words, we have to be incredibly diligent, at least here in the United States, because these poisons, these toxins, these artificial things are everywhere in everything man has touched. All right, back to that statement about dyspeptics. Tell those who are sick that if the hosts of those who are dyspeptics and consumptives could turn farmers, they might overcome disease, dispense with drugs and doctors, and recover health. Now, a farmer engages in useful labor in the sunlight and fresh air, but the number one defining characteristic of farmer is that he works in the soil. It has been shown that there is indeed a relationship between dyspepsia and a decreased diversity and decreased population of the gastrointestinal microbiota. And the respiratory system also has its own version of the microbiome, which could have a bearing on TB patients. So yes, working in the soil microbiome could help explain that quote about dyspeptics. And this may also help explain the change of attitude in the prison gardeners, as a healthy gut microbiome has also been shown to improve disposition. Yet even the healing properties in the microbiome doesn't seem to address the rapid cure of the woman with the persistent cough, because the gut microbiome takes a while to grow the balance back. So is there yet something else in the soil that might explain it? Something that provides a rapid healing action? Well, we have one more healing agency in Eden that I'm aware of having to do with the soil, and it's my favorite Eden principle. Eden's barefoot health principle. This principle was modeled for us in Eden. It wasn't stated in so many words, but God himself showed it to us. Day 6. Adam and Eve just opened his eyes for the first time. Adam was a notable exception. Instead of being spoken into existence like everything else that had just been made, Adam was formed out of the existing dust of the earth. God stood Adam up upon his bare feet onto the surface of the earth, and God did not place shoes upon his feet. Then after Eve was created from Adam, God pronounced everything he had just made very good, everything working together in harmony. Now, when God makes a notable exception during a creation event with the entire universe watching, he is expecting that we take note of that notable exception and understand what that exception means. I believe that when God formed man out of the dust of the earth, instead of speaking him into existence, he was telling all sentient beings that mankind is part of the earth, the soil. Man is connected to it. He came from it. His food comes from it. His healing comes from it. And because of their sin, they would eventually return to that dust of the earth. Yet as powerful as B12 and the soil microbiome is for our healing, these were not enough. God created another powerful healing substance, which cannot be seen, felt, smelled, or tasted, but it can be measured with man's scientific devices. God keeps this substance scattered all across the surface of the earth and waters. This substance is absorbed. Oh, hold on. There, back again. Boy, I've had nothing but problems here today. All right, back to where I was. God keeps this substance scattered all across the surface of the earth and waters. This substance is absorbed automatically as man walks upon the earth barefooted. That substance is vital to our continued health. It has magnificent healing and protective properties that both prevent and reverse disease. This is why God did not provide mankind with shoes. Most of mankind has never even considered the notion that walking barefoot upon the earth was in fact an Eden health principle until recently. Scientists are calling this lost Eden principle earthing or grounding, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Just touching the ground grounds us electrically. And Adam and Eve, just like Adam and Eve were. Just a moment here. Good, still there. Okay. All right, next slide. And what is this healing substance we've been talking about? Oh, it's so simple. God's solutions usually are. The surface of the earth and waters are saturated with an almost infinite supply of negatively charged particles, electrons. That's all. The surface of the earth and waters carry a slightly negative charge. This is not new science. Scientists have known this for a very long time. Doctors, however, have not known this. And if they have, they haven't told us about it. So if grounding is so anti-inflammatory, just a moment, I think I might have, let me back up a bit. Yep. Okay. If grounding is so anti-inflammatory, then why is mankind still plagued with chronic inflammatory diseases? Well, because modern man has separated himself from the earth and have become chronically electron deficient. Now, who knew that was a thing? How did we become electron deficient? Oh my, hold on, there's still something wrong here as well. The slides aren't moving. Hold on, gotta get back up here, click on this. Hold on.
I can
Hold
see
on
the
just a
slide.
moment. I'm going to have to refresh this.
Okay. The slide I'm seeing, John, is we are part of the earth.
Yes, and it had already advanced on my second screen, but it doesn't seem to be advancing here. Okay, let me okay, when my second screen unplugged itself accidentally and I plugged that back in, but now it's not moving my screen. So give me a moment here. I might have to just start this presentation over. This is slide 53. All right, let me close that. All right. I'm just going to take that off completely. Sorry about that, folks. My settings. Swap presenter's view, and I'm going to that's working, that's not. Okay, I'm going to take off shared screen for a moment. Stop share. And I'm going to restart my PowerPoint. Part one. Okay. That's going. Let me go back to your screen. Right here. I'm going to hit shared screen again. Hopefully this works. Got to start slideshow. Meeting. Go to display settings, swap presenter's view.
Yeah, I can see it progressing now.
There it is. Okay. One more thing I got to do. Okay. Whew. Sorry about that. All right. Scientists are calling this the most important health discovery of all time. The magnificent, unbelievable disease reversing properties of grounding proves that assertion to be true. Okay. And I missed that part. So let's go right here. Now, the very ground we walk on is God's original anti-inflammatory, antioxidant healing agent. It is perfectly balanced, and its healing properties activate automatically and instantly when we simply touch the earth. Just put your hands in the soil. Just walk barefooted in the grass. The longer we are in contact with negatively charged earth, the more consistent the healing. God's outdoor, automatic, free, effortless healthcare. So back to that question. If grounding is so anti-inflammatory, then why is mankind still plagued with chronic inflammatory diseases? Well, because modern man has separated himself from the earth and have become chronically electron deficient. Yeah, who knew that was a thing? So how did we become electron deficient? One, we left agriculture and moved indoors during the Industrial Revolution. Number two, we lost our electrical connection to the earth when in the 1960s, synthetic rubber-soled shoes were invented. And now, approximately 95% of people on this planet walk insulated from the earth, which was never God's plan. This guy here, Clint Ober, is the man of science that rediscovered this lost Eden barefoot health principles. This is his opinion of synthetic shoes. He says, this was the single thing that happened that probably caused the proliferation of inflammation-related health disorders far and above anything else. This is the most destructive invention that man had ever made, the synthetic sole shoe. Now, the solution to chronic inflammation has been right under our feet this whole time. All right, let's go to example number one of what happens when chronically inflamed sick people are finally grounded. And there are many, 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 many such stories and so many scientific papers on this, which we'll get into in a bit. All right. In the year 2000, Clint Ober, the discoverer of grounding, was asked by a friend if he would ground an elderly gentleman who was bedridden with advanced rheumatoid arthritis. The man's hands, elbows, and feet were grotesquely misshapen and inflamed. He was racked with pain and could hardly move, and then only very slowly. He was receiving comfort and at-home support from hospice. Ober said he would come and see what could be done. It took 3 people to lift the man out of the bed in order to allow a conductive bed pad to be placed on it. The pad was then connected to a ground rod outside. About 10 days later, Ober received a phone call from the man asking if he could come over again. He said that a squirrel had eaten through the ground wire. How do you know that? Ober wanted to know. Well, I went out and I saw it had been chewed through, the man said. Now, Ober was puzzled. How could a bedridden patient be up and about in his yard in a matter of a few days? Well, that's what I did, he said. I went out and saw it. Astonished, Ober drove up again. He found the man waiting for him, leaning against the front door. He said he was feeling better, and he was right about the wire. It had indeed been chewed up by an animal. Ober replaced it. After the elderly patient had used the bed pad for a year, Ober learned from his friend that the man was much improved. He was doing household chores, tending to his fireplace, and even carrying firewood into the house from outside. The swelling had gone down. He was stronger, and he moved, talked, and expressed himself with new liveliness. The friend said that the once bedridden man had told him, I feel I no longer have disease in my body. That's amazing. The man continued to sleep grounded every night for the next 5 years until he died. This remarkable turnaround reveals the largely unknown fact that the ground represents the biggest and best natural antioxidant and anti-inflammatory that exists. There are countless magnificent health recovery stories in the documentaries and the book. That was just one of them. And this one is just tepid compared to the others. So how does grounding reverse inflammation? Now, this is an excerpt from the movies. It was one long paragraph, but it was spoken by several experts. So it's a little bit confusing. Starts out with Clint Ober speaking. Stephen Sinatra, who was a cardiologist from back east, was attending a convention, and we sat down with Stephen and told him the story of what I was doing. He said, well, if you're affecting pain, you need to be researching inflammation. You don't have arthritis. You don't have cancer. You don't have all these health disorders. What you have is chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is different from acute inflammation. Clint Ober speaking again. To me, at that time, inflammation was, well, you sprain an ankle and it balloons up and gets red and sore and it's inflamed. And he says, the cardiologist says, no, inflammation is different than that. Stephen Sinatra now speaking, we have so much inflammation in the body and it comes out in illnesses. We go to a doctor with all these complaints, but a lot of it is silent inflammation, including my specialty, heart disease. Heart disease is an inflammatory process. So how do we reduce inflammation? This is another guy, James Oshman, PhD, biophysicist, author of Down to Earth. He says the most abundant protein in the body is collagen. It's the building block of our tissues. And we have gazillions of collagen molecules in our body. They are all embedded in a gel. This gel has a huge surface area, and it absorbs electrons and releases them when you have an injury. Clint Ober speaking, inflammation is produced by neutrophils, which is a white blood cell. You have an injury, you have a damaged cell. And so these white blood cells come over and they encapsulate the damaged cell and they release reactive oxygen species, which rip electrons from the damaged cell, and that destroys the damaged cell. James Oshman speaking, white blood cells release free radicals at the injury site, which chew up any pathogens, bacteria, or dead cells. That's a good thing. They clear the area. It's called the repair field. It's the place that needs to be repaired. Without earthing, some of the free radicals that are released into the repair field leak into the surrounding tissue. If there's not enough free electrons there to reduce the remaining radicals, they are going to steal an electron from a healthy cell and in the process damage it. Then the message goes out to the immune system and another neutrophil does the same thing, eliminates that. So then you end up with a chain reaction, chronic disease. And this can create chronic inflammation, silent inflammation. You may not even know it's there and it continues for years. Clint Ober speaking, if inflammation is the cause of all these health disorders, then I know that, and listen to this, then I know that not enough grounding is the cause of inflammation, because if the body is grounded, you cannot have inflammation. Really? All right, I am convinced that God's intervening hand is at work in directing us back to the lost healing principles of Eden, such as this one. I believe these are to be the counter agents to the worldwide poisoning of mankind. Therefore, we are to live by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Notice that grounding is God's solution, primary solution for excess free radicals and inflammation, not man's. Since 1956, we have been bombarded with the notion that a constant threat of free radicals, and have been told that supplements and food rich in antioxidants were the solution. supplement manufacturers made and still are making a lot of money from that idea. Well, it turns out that foods containing antioxidants were just one of nature's backup systems. It was a backup system. Grounding seems to be the primary system for dealing with free radicals and chronic inflammation. All we had to do was keep ourselves connected to the earth and stick to our original plant-based diet. This explanation of the science of grounding is very abbreviated and simplified, and thus, somewhat lacking. But Clint Ober has a much more elaborate explanation in his book, but it's more than 2 pages long. So nevertheless, I prefer to emphasize the results, the recovery stories, rather than the scientific theories. Mostly because scientific theories tend to change over time. The results do not. You might want to jot this down. The Earthing Institute, earthinginstitute.net, contains the research and contains the testimonials. And there's voluminous amounts on both sides. I'm just giving a tiny little introduction to earthing in this presentation. So I will refer you to the voluminous scientific research and success stories that have been gathered at that website, earthinginstitute.net. And they are fabulous. Clint Ober is the absolute expert on this topic. This is the man of science who rediscovered this lost Eden healing principle and brought it to the world. The first image is of the documentary on grounding called The Earthing Movie on YouTube. You might want to write that down too. There is a second documentary equally as good called The Grounded, also on YouTube. They complement each other, different authors. The second image you see here is of Clint Ober's book on grounding or earthing. Without these scientists realizing they were doing it, they were pointing people back to the lost barefoot health principle of Eden and God's magnificent outdoor automatic healthcare system. Now, a little warning here, or heads up. Some Christians have rejected this healing principle out of hand because the words grounding and earthing sound to them like New Age terminology. So they reject God's command to test every spirit. They don't look into it, and then they miss out on the healing benefits. So here's my answer to that. If grounding is truth, it can stand scrutiny. Just because New Agers may try to attach their particular spin on earthing doesn't make earthing mysticism. I mean, what doctrine has not Satan tried to hijack? God's rainbow was also hijacked and turned into a symbol for the gay community. Well, does that now mean that God's promise concerning that rainbow is no longer binding? Grounding has been accused, in my hearing, of being New Age, spiritualism, pantheism, worshiping the earth, and worshiping Satan by well-meaning people. Yet the human body is the most complex electrochemical device on planet Earth. It is filled with electrical chemical circuitry. The brain, the nervous system, the muscles, our very heartbeats. And electrical devices need to be grounded. So to say that grounding these priceless living electrical bodies is New Age, spiritualism, pantheism, worshiping the earth, and worshiping Satan is to say that grounding your home's electrical outlets and devices is New Age, spiritualism, pantheism, worshiping the earth, and worshiping Satan. Folks, this is just basic electrical wiring 101. We ground the expensive electrical devices to prevent problems. The science is in harmony with the principles of Eden. We have been told those who take the written word as their counselor will find in science an aid to understand God. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Now, God surrounded Adam and Eve on every side with nature's automatic healing agencies. Even that big star in the sky, 92 million miles away, was designed with magnificent healing properties for us all. So is it really any surprise that God would also place magnificent healing agencies right under our feet without us even having to think about it? All right, next testimony. Neither my wife, this is actually me talking about me and my wife. Neither my wife nor myself snore anymore since we grounded ourselves at night, and sleep is much deeper and thorough. And apparently both these things are quite common with grounding. All right, next testimonial. I believe that getting my hands and feet in the soil while gardening, as well as lots of sunlight, were the key things that got me over hyperthyroidism about 8 years ago. Now, this was Randy Haynes talking. I got this off of Med Missionary blog. He was answering, we were on it together at the same time. Now, by the way, here's a question for you. What branch of our modern healthcare system has proven to be far and away the most indispensable and effective in preventing and reversing disease? Yes, it's kind of a trick question. The answer, organic farmers is the most indispensable, effective in preventing and reversing disease. It's the greatest healthcare you can do. Now, Randy and Beverly Haynes are Christian Adventist organic farmers in British Columbia, Canada. From my perspective, that makes them the most effective, practical, down-to-earth medical missionaries I know. Indispensable healthcare. All right, here's the next testimonial. From Elizabeth S., also from that same blog. She's an Adventist. Our Creator knows what we need and has placed it in nature for us. She's talking about earthing. Simply earthing regularly is anti-inflammatory, pain relieving, yep, that's absolutely true, peace giving, and nutrition boosting, plus so much more. Yes, nutrition boosting. She says, my dad, who is 90 now, has earthed regularly for several years, and it has helped regulate his arrhythmia and boost his mood. I feel so much better after I do my earthing. I feel less pain and more overall balance in my whole being. Praise God for giving us what we need, even in the dirt. This was also from the blog of Med Missionary. All right. Grounding is not just the best anti-inflammatory. It is also the best natural blood thinner without the deadly side effects that come with pharmakeia. Wait a minute. That can't be right? I mean, we were told that water is the best blood thinner, and it was a prophet of the Lord that said that. So that's true. We were told that. Therefore, grounding must be part of God's backup systems. See, water thins the blood by diluting the blood naturally. So how does grounding thin the blood? Oh, this is fascinating. Electrons from the earth enter the blood and coat the red blood cells so that the cells repel each other, and then they cannot clump, and the blood viscosity goes down. It's easier for the heart to pump the blood pressure goes down. All kinds of cardiovascular issues, they go away. That was a quote from that cardiologist. Now, just because they make these claims doesn't necessarily mean those claims are true, right? Is there evidence of this? Well, turns out there's video evidence of this phenomenon. Now let's watch that. Listen very carefully because the sound level on this clip is very quiet. It may do that non-audio thing. If it does, I'll just narrate what's happening. It's a short little video clip, 1 or 2 minutes at the most. All right, let's try it. Nope, it's not going to work. All right, this is a doctor who's about to take blood from an older woman who is ungrounded. She's wearing shoes. She's going to draw it, and we're going to see that what those blood cells are doing. Notice how they're clumping together. This is called stacking. Keep that image in mind, because she's now about to go outside barefooted. They're going to head out to the beach, to the water in bare feet. That's her. And in 10 minutes later, she's coming back in. She will have her shoes on again, and he's going to draw blood while she is again ungrounded. But since, hold on, let's show this. See those? No longer stacked, and they're moving faster as well. They're repelling each other. Okay. Well, I think I know. I think I just figured out, by the way, why those things weren't, or how to fix that sound issue, but it's too late. That's the last one I've got on that. All right. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, wouldn't you say? When we are not grounded, blood can clump together. When we are grounded, our blood does not clump together. Blood flow is faster and easier. Blood pressure goes down, which relieves strain on the heart, and oxygenation is better and easier and faster. Thus, healing is faster. Now, this video also demonstrated the principle that we get stocked up on electrons when we touch the earth. You know, it's stored in that gel. We need not be consistently touching the earth. The electrons are stored in our collagen until needed. You saw in that video that lady simply grounded for 10 minutes, then went back inside and her blood was tested while she was again ungrounded. Yet the blood cells continued to repel each other, even though she was now ungrounded. That's because her body restocked itself with electrons. That's the evidence of this. Now, the next healing story is from a testimonial from the comments section on YouTube under that earthing movie. This is a fascinating story. And I know of someone else, I know of 2 other people that have this same sort of stuff happening. All right. I fractured a vertebrae in my neck when I was a kid. It didn't heal properly, and it became massively arthritic. I have had chronic pain and headaches for 30 years. I got a simple mat to put my feet on when I'm sitting, and I have been using a grounded pillowcase to sleep on. After about the 3rd night of using the pillowcase, I noticed that my neck appeared to be completely healed. Folks, this is not uncommon. This is not uncommon. This is not uncommon. The pain was completely gone, and my range of motion increased easily by at least 20%, and with 0 pain. For me, this was nothing short of miraculous. I am completely addicted to earthing. EMFs. This is a different story. There are boatloads of science and wonderful health recovery stories in Clint Ober's documentary book and website. But this is just a tiny little introduction to grounding, like I said. But this benefit that you're about to see needs to be told right now. Clint Ober discovered and experimented and discovered it to be true that as long as we are grounded, we are protected from the dangerous, relentless bombardment of electromagnetic fields and Wi-Fi, etc. Yeah, it's true. Clint Ober's experimentation on himself on this is fascinating. You can read it on page 34 and 35 of his book, Earthing, second edition. Earthing, second edition, pages 34, 35. All right. And he talks about it all throughout the book, but this is just where he started. Yeah. Eden's barefoot health principle is clear evidence that God has had this whole thing figured out from the beginning. He has made provisions for the terrible emergencies of diseases, even in this modern electrical age. God is not slack. He knows of the toxicities and deficiencies of this age, even from the days of eternity. He made provisions for it all long ago. I had just finished my section on grounding in this presentation when I received an email, and here is what it said. This is a woman talking to me. She says, I watched your video on tuberculosis and healing with the sunlight. I heard you talk about sun healing bones. I have osteoporosis in the back and hip and osteoarthritis in my knees, which I'm supposed to have replaced soon. I've been praying for God to show me another way, but what can you do if you're in a cold area in winter? I've told myself if I get outside that I would get outside this winter, but it's been way too cold. So I told her about the classic exercise and a proper diet to prevent and reverse these diseases, but I did not find that a very satisfying answer. So I looked to see if Clint Ober might have something to say about grounding in osteoporosis and inflammation, osteoarthritis. I found a page on his website that you're looking at here, earthinginstitute.net, on osteoporosis, which I included in my answer to her. There were 4 healing stories. I'll just retell 2 of them. This is from a woman aged 56 in England, 2015. She says, I broke my back a few years ago and was, at the time, diagnosed with osteoporosis. I refused biophosphates and calcium and was too lazy to take up weightlifting. However, I had my bones scanned again recently. Remember that was a few years ago. Recently, and the results showed a remarkable improvement. I no longer have osteoporosis because I have been grounding for about a year. All right. 65-year-old retired nurse from Indio, California, 2020. When I first began grounding, I did not have the immediate results that I have read about others having. In fact, I felt worse. I had more fatigue and pain. I have an autoimmune condition, ankylosing spondylitis, chronic pain, as well as migraines. You encourage me, this person is talking to Clint Ober. You encouraged me to hang in there, that it would get better. I continued grounding at night and during the day when I laid down. I have been grounding almost 3 months. The changes have been very gradual. When I started, I was walking 20 minutes a day, struggling to do that due to overwhelming fatigue and pain. I have osteoporosis, and my doctor has been pushing me to go on medication for it. I have resisted because of all the side effects associated with those drugs. I've been taking supplements to strengthen my bones, though my doctor said that it won't make much difference. I was on supplements before my bone scan 2 years ago, and my results showed my bone density was worse. I had read that grounding, by the way, I'm going to cover that supplement stuff in Eden Part 3, and it's not what we've been told. All right, I had read that grounding may help with osteoporosis, so that was my motivation. I kept putting off my bone scan to allow more time to ground. Then my doctor refused to treat me any longer if I didn't get my repeat scan and go on medication. So I had my scan. I was shocked to learn that I no longer have osteoporosis. She just got grounded. That's it. Needless to say, I am a firm believer in the benefits of grounding after only 3 months. Can't wait to see how much better I get as time goes on. All right. You know, when I combined these stories that I've just read with all the other historical healing stories of nature in all my other presentations, I realized something very important about God's Eden healthcare system. And I've already alluded to it a few slides back. God has built into nature redundant, overlapping backup health systems. Sunlight prevents and reverses osteoporosis. Exercise prevents and reverses osteoporosis. Eden's diet prevents and reverses osteoporosis. Grounding prevents and reverses osteoporosis. That's just what we know. Just touching the earth, folks, is the greatest anti-inflammatory, anti-EMF blood thinner on earth, literally on earth. It cannot get any easier than that. Just show up. Just standing there outside on the earth, your health is improving. Same thing for sunlight and fresh air. Talk about simple, easy, effortless, and automatic. Now, imagine if we could combine all these 4 healing agents that you're looking at into one purposeful, consistent health recovery effort. The speed of healing would be unparalleled in this modern age. Oh, wait a minute. Looking at those 4, this looks familiar. Does this look familiar to you, these 4 things in a package? We've seen this somewhere before, haven't we? What does this package look like to you? Wait. I think it's got a name. I know, it's called gardening. Just like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Sunlight, exercise, Eden's diet, grounding. It's gardening. It's what God intended for us human beings to do from the very beginning. Application to all this, another application. If you are determined to help your patients overcome disease, then get them gardening barefoot and in skimpy clothes for sunlight. It's now making sense, isn't it? How hardened, violent prisoners were turned into sane, functioning members of society simply by gardening in the soil, fresh air, and sunlight. And how it was that Ellen White's chronic, relentless cough was almost immediately eliminated after getting outside with her hands in the soil of a strawberry garden. And now her 2 strong statements about healing outdoors makes more sense as well. By outdoor exercise and working in the soil, men and women will regain their health. And tell those who are sick that if the hosts of those who are dyspeptics and consumptives could turn farmers or gardeners, they might overcome disease, dispense with drugs and doctors, and recover health. God's health care system is magnificent. He has placed our health care in the simple serenity of a garden. God never intended that nature be a mere afterthought in our health care. It was to be our primary health care. Man-made therapies weren't even discussed in the Garden of Eden. No more placing mortal man's medical theories and therapies above God's specified healing agencies. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. Therefore, we require a healthcare system that is equally, fearfully, and wonderfully made. God's magnificent outdoor automatic healthcare system. And the dirt was just the beginning. Parts 2 and 3 address more of those magnificent automatic healing agencies of nature. Part 2 is called Acclimating to Outdoor Healing. Amazing stories of history telling how different people and organizations and groups of people acclimated to outdoor living and the fabulous results. Part 3 is called Treating Cancer Eden's Way. The treatment of cancer is not what we've been led to believe. So thank you for letting me present this to you today. I'm going to shut this down and return the screen to you. Stop share. And here we are. Okay.
Thank you
Back
so
to
much,
you.
John. I'm
Sure.
sure
Sorry, it took so long there.
that's all right. Yeah,
It ate up the question time.
I'm sure this topic is new to a lot of people. I've seen in the chat box here that Carrie said I was never really convinced about grounding, but completely sold on it now.
Oh,
Praise God.
good. Yeah, that video clip does the trick for most everybody.
With your part 2 and part 3, do we get that from your website, thesuncure.com?
Part 3 I'm redoing right now. Part 3 I'm redoing, but part 2 is there. But I've made significant changes to that too. So
Okay.
you can watch it, but it's going to be better if you hear it live.
Right, let's open it to questions from the audience now.
Or comments.
Or comments, yeah.
So John, what's your understanding about grounding sheets that you sleep on? Has there been any, development in that area as well? Do you see that as an unnatural way to deal with God's way? The approach is to walk around, touch the earth, and have that potential taken out. But you can sleep on a grounding sheet, which is maybe the unnatural way. What's your thoughts on that?
Do you have? Let me ask you this question first. Do you have a grounding sheet?
No.
Okay. Some people look at it as unnatural. I have one just right here. Right there. There's a bed right here.
Okay.
I use it at night. It works. I was just told a story by someone who's grounding, who is sensitive to EMFs. They can sense things that the rest of us don't.
Right.
I asked this well, they told me the difference. When they ground outside, they only feel good things. But when they ground inside on a sheet, they feel this little sort of vibration, high frequency vibration, when touching a grounding sheet. So there is a difference. Yeah, I would call it unnatural, but who's going to sleep outside on bearskins nowadays? Not going to happen. So we use what we've got.
Man,
So ask what he suggests in the winter then.
Oh yeah. So my wife said, so what would you suggest when it's cold and wet? Obviously you'd rug up, you put boots on. Can you get grounding boots as well? Like, shoes that the sole allows you that potential as well.
Yes. Just a second. Grab it.
Yeah, there's a grounding boot.
There are several different ways. This is the most simplest. Oh, wait, hold on.
Hey,
You see this thing?
moccasins.
That's a moccasin.
Yeah.
It's made out of moose hide from
Yep.
Canada.
Okay.
These have to be slightly moist in order to work. Just like leather shoes, you have to be slightly moist in order to work. This is what most of human beings have worn for 6,000 years, leather shoes. So yeah, they're conductive, but not perfectly. And then they have I don't have any experience wearing these. I tried it once when they were dry. They didn't do a thing. I had the measuring device and it didn't do anything. I didn't want to get it wet because I need to return these because they're a little bit too small.
Fair enough.
Well, they cost me like it was way too expensive. I think it was like $180. But they have some shoes and thongs and sandals with copper metal that conduct from the earth. I have no experience with those things. I don't even have stories of those.
Yep.
All right. There's one question here from Annette. John, can you specifically explain what we should do if walking on the ground? How long is the minimum time? Every day.
if you walk,
Yes.
it's important that you walk on wet or moist or fresh soil or wet grass. The wetter it is and the healthier the soil, the better the conductivity. If it's absolutely dry, it's probably not going to be that all that grounding for you. When I was watching the video, the doc said that all it takes is an instant. You step on the ground in bare feet, the wet grass, and it's instant. You have stocked up.
Mm.
And there are other studies and experiences that show the longer and the more that you are grounded, the better healing. If you're touching you could stock up on negative on these electrons. But if you're not grounded, it won't protect. If you are not directly, consistently grounded, you will not be protected from EMFs.
Right.
So you have to remain, it acts like a Faraday cage, if that's
Yeah.
what the book says.
Yeah, my previous work before John was in a semiconductor company, and we have grounding boots. It's a shoes with conductors all around it. So you're connected to the conductors to the ground. So that
Really?
it prevents the
Grounding.
the IC to be destroyed when we touch it, because when we have electrons and you have that ESD, electrostatic discharge, so with that grounding boots, that prevents you to have ESD with whatever you touch. So I'm sure you can get it somewhere.
How does it ground? What's it made out of?
It looks a normal sneakers, but it has conductors woven into it.
Interesting.
It's used in clean rooms in semiconductor companies. With regards to grounding, Ellen White said the best exercise is useful work. So instead of just walking around, I suggest those who are close to Shalem to do your grounding here in our agriculture, and let's do weeding.
We look at that as punishment, but it's not. It's our blessing.
Yeah, no.
It is our health care. I don't want to get out there in the hot sun and work in the garden, but I have to tell myself, John, this is your health care, and it's a blessing. We're supposed to be out there. So my yard's looking pretty good now from all that health care.
Amen. So
Yeah.
I have a question.
the graphic on Blue Zone says that we get our exercise with just 1 hour of gardening every day. So you also get your grounding by working the soil with your hands, not necessarily on your feet. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, anywhere on the body. Someone else was saying they had a question.
Yes.
Yes, John. This is Noel.
I
Thank
know.
you again for the presentation. That was really amazing.
Thank you.
Open up my mind. I have a question in regards to the grounding, because we are told that tetanus, when we have an open wound and direct contact with the soil, that where you get tetanus or
Tinnitus,
but I have
the ears,
not tetanus.
or tetanus.
Tetanus.
Oh, tetanus, like a
infection.
tetanus shot.
Yeah, tetanus.
Got it.
But I'm not sure if because I've read an article as well that working with the grounds or have direct contact with the ground, it gives you an anti-tetanus vaccine effect. I don't know if you have encountered that.
I have not encountered that. I wish it were true. I hope it's true. I've not come across it. Have you come across any studies on that?
Yeah, I've read some, but I've lost that article.
Yeah, that would be spectacular. I was just reading this. Hold on. I was just reading this. Hey, it's backwards. And I'm astounded no matter where I open up in this book on earthing, it's amazing stories, amazing science. When you think it cannot possibly be any better, it just keeps getting better. And it's 300 pages. Like I say, we've only talked about a tiny little aspect of it.
Yeah, but I'm also, because we were in the medical school, you're told that that's where you get infected when you are direct in contact with an open wound, direct contact with the ground. That's where you get tetanus.
I always thought it was like when you
But-
step on a nail. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have no context
Yeah.
on that.
All right.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's very interesting to know that. Thank you very much.
Sure. Anyone else there have input on that particular topic, tetanus? Taking that as a no.
Well, I've pulled out hundreds of weeds, probably thousands this winter. And I haven't been able to do it with gloves because it's impossible. And I had no idea I was getting a grounding, and I wondered why I was feeling so good. And I thought, oh, it must be the fresh air and the sun, which it is as well. But I had no idea. and I got to actually liking pulling out the weeds because of the benefits.
Oh, isn't that interesting? You know, if there's a certain thing that's there's a certain thing out there in nature that I'm going to encourage you to use too as well. When you're pulling weeds, it's not just the sunlight and fresh air. It's also that fresh air moving against your skin. You will feel so much better. It increases your metabolism. It was found to be a real and marvelous thing during the sun cure, during the war on TB at the sun cure clinics. I tried it out there mowing my lawn when there's a slight breeze or a big breeze in the sun. It feels so much better. I feel more invigorated by the movement of fresh air on our bodies. There's something about it. It's probably the negative ions that affect you as well. I don't know, but God's had this whole thing figured out from the beginning.
So,
Thank
John,
you.
I've got a question with regard to AF, atrial fib. Is that something that has been studied in the field of grounding as well? Does that actually have an influence?
I know I've run across those sorts of things, AFib. Yes, in the movie, you got to watch that movie, the documentary.
Yeah.
Babies' heart rates in neonatal, when they're first born, they tested them grounded, and they tested them other babies non-grounded. The ones that were grounded, just newborns, their heart rates were normalized, their rhythms, their APGAR scores were better. It was amazing. And I have a friend who's a massage therapist who has a fibrillation events. And it happens when she's at home, especially. Stress has a component to it, but when she's not at home, it doesn't seem to happen hardly at all. When she is at home, it does. And we've kind of tentatively figured it out that it is the smart meter that's attached to her house that's causing the issues.
Mm.
And when she gets out of the house, doesn't seem to have a problem.
She's smarter.
So in other words, the EMS, but that particular woman she's my best friend, and she just will not get on board with the grounding thing.
Okay.
Go figure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, my daughter also has ankylosing spondylosis. So I'm particularly interested in trying to get her to go down this route. Right now, she's very much in the road of medications and anti-inflammatories and stuff like that. And she says, I'm living for each day because I'm expecting the next day to get worse. So yeah, I'm particularly keen that she'll try at least grounding and see how she copes with it.
Did you, I have comments on this. Did you or her see my presentation called The Sun Cure?
No, well, she hasn't. I have. Sorry. Yeah.
In that presentation, you might want to point it to her. Ankylosing spondylitis was overcome by the Sun Cure. Just Sun
Excellent.
Cure, not 15 minutes a day to hands in the face. It was overcome by full body exposure over time, gradually more and more, until a lifestyle in the sunlight.
Okay. All right. Definitely. I'll go and find
And I have another point on that. She said something, if that was accurate, what you said, that she's expecting that the next day will be worse, right?
Yeah.
I also have an experience about that in my presentation, men's hearts failing them for fear.
Okay.
When I expected to get worse, I got worse. When I expected to be better, I got better.
Right.
And
This
the
is
drugs are
good, yeah.
going to ruin her.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, my whole point in all these presentations is to send people back to what God specified as our health and healing. And when we get away from it, we suffer the results.
Exactly. All right. That's excellent. Excellent
everyone.
presentation.
Thank you.
We've used up more time than allocated, but it's very interesting topic, John. Thank you so much for your time and for your willingness to share with us about this.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and if you need more information, you have a YouTube channel and your website.
Oh, are you asking me to give that to you right now, or you're going to send it to them?
Yeah, it's open on my browser, but yeah, the suncure.com is that right?
Thesuncure.com will get you to everything. It'll get you to the YouTubes, etc.
Okay, thank
And
you so much.
there's a lot more on thesuncure.com than just sunlight. So yeah, it's a good thesuncure.com.
Thank you. So thank you for joining our webinar tonight, and hope to see you again next Saturday night. And hopefully we can get Dr. Eddie Ramirez to join us tonight, and hopefully next Saturday night. Hopefully we can get you back, John. I'll keep in contact with you. Thank you so much for your time tonight. And thank you everyone for joining us, and God bless. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Thanks, Benji. Well, yeah, John, well done.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless.
Blessings to you all. Big hugs. Bye.
Bye. Bye.